الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وبعد. Beloved brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, in our short fiqh this evening, we are still in Kitab al-Tahara, the chapter on cleanliness. And we look at a very short section in this chapter. We are looking at the amount of water. Of course, in Kitab al-Tahara, we understand that we are going to be using water for purification, for the ablution, the wudu, for the ghusl, which we will start probably next week, inshallah. But as a prerequisite to performing the wudu, the ghusl, we have to ensure that the water we are using meets the requirements for purification. So it's very important to know the ruling of water, especially if, for example, a city such as ours, in which the water supply is not consistent. There are times when water is not maybe coming out of the taps. Maybe we've stored water. Water has been kept in a bucket, or we've harvested rain. We would need to know, can we use that water for wudu? This is a very important fiqh question. So and generally if water is not coming out of a tap, if it has stood for a while, it is stagnant, what is the ruling that then gets applied? So what we need to fundamentally recognize is, in this section, we refer to the concept of al-ma al-mutlaq, absolute water or general water. And this is the origin and the definition of ma al-mutlaq, general water, is that it does not have any attributes. No color, no taste, no smell. That is general water. And general water, ma mutlaq, comes from the rivers, seas, springs, and of course rain. And it is not permissible to remove hadath, a state of impurity, or to remove impurity except with ma mutlaq, absolute or general water. So let's look at what the Shaykh writes. He says that water is categorized into two, al-ma'u qalilun wa kathirun. That water is either a little or a lot. And now the fuqaha define this. Al-qalilu ma duna al-qullatayn. That a little water is that which is less than 2 qullas. If we had to use literage, 2 qullas equates to, and the fuqaha differ, but we could say in the region of about 170 to 190 liters, roughly. Let's use 190. That qullatain, 2 qullas, is 190 liters. So the fuqaha say that a little water is less than 190 liters. وَالْكَثِيرُ قُلَّتَانِ فَأَكْثَرُ. And a lot of water, abundant water, is 2 qullas, 190 liters or more. So water is divided fundamentally into two, either less than 190 liters or 190 and more. And there are different rulings regarding these. Let's talk about the lesser. A little amount of water, so that's less than 190 liters, will become impure when an impurity falls into it, even though the water does not change. So we are saying that water is absolute. It would not have any taste, any smell, and any color. That is the qualities of water, does not have that. Those are no attributes. So if an impurity falls into that, And the fuqaha describe this. They say if the impurity is discernible with eyesight, you see it. You see the impurity in the less than 190 liters, that collection of water no longer serves the purpose. This is for water less than 190 liters. If it is abundant water will not become impure except when its taste, color, or smell changes. So if there is water more than 190 liters, let's say a Jojo tank, right, more than 190 liters, and the water is not flowing in the taps, not from the taps, and we're now going to use the water we've harvested from rain. So the origin of that water is it's permissible, it's ma mutlaq. But in the process of storage, if it's more than 190 liters, we must then check, has any of the attributes of the water from its point of origin, has it changed? Has it changed in the way that it looks? Has it changed in its smell? Has it changed in its taste? And these are the general rules that apply. But I must highlight there are a lot of differences of opinion regarding amounts of impurity. A lot of difference of opinion, which I unfortunately will not be able to cover over here. But these are the general rules that apply. For example, I will quote Nawawi, where he says as well, if it is a small amount, he's referring to a substance which is tahir, right, pure, and it goes into a smaller amount of water. So he gives the example, if it is a small amount of saffron that falls into the water and the water turns slightly yellow, or it is soap, or it is flour that has fallen into it and the water has become slightly white, such that it could not be called by a name other than water, then the ruling is that it is still pure and purifying. Now this is based on, of course, a very important characteristic, that you still call it water. So sometimes people often ask why, or can we be in a bath of water and there's soap in there, can we take wudu with that water? Sometimes people pose the question, can you take a ghusl in a bath? You're laying in a bath, you've added bubble bath, can you take a ghusl? I'm posing the question now to get us thinking, inshallah. But let's say wudu, let's just use wudu. Can, if there's a bath of water and we've added bubble bath, would it be permissible to use that water for wudu? Based on the general rulings. General rulings, no. So the general ruling is, if it's less than 190, it must, of course, remain, you must still consider it to be water. And this is a very important criterion that Shaykh Nawawi, the scholar Nawawi, has put forth. And if it is more than 190 liters, then of course we look for the criterion that generally must have changed. Okay? And so we close, inshallah, and we acknowledge that general water must be used for ablution and bathing, a ghusl. And if it is no longer considered water, then it may not be used anymore. So if soap has fallen into it, a bucket of water, and we now consider that no longer being water, and that's soap, detergent, then of course, if your categorization differs, then it can no longer be used. Any questions? Inshallah, inshallah. Jazakallah khairan. Yes, borehole water, and very beautifully, if the origin of that water was brown, that is then the original state of the pure water. So borehole water, and groundwater at times, it would have a little bit of sort of mud in it, sand in it. There would be some discoloration, and that is permissible because its origin was like that. And the ulama, as I said, there's a lot of difference of opinion. Some ulama have said, what if the water has become brown? And if it has changed? Again, for example, if the taps are off, the pipes are, there's a water outage, and it comes back on, there's some residue in that first time you open the taps. The water slightly, the color is different. And so then the ulama have said, you use your analysis, do you still consider that water? Or do you consider it polluted? If you consider it polluted, then you can't use it. But if you feel this is still water, then of course, using Nawawi's view, you can use it for ghusl and for wudu. Inshallah. Jazakallah khairan. Wa sallallahu wa sallam alayhi wa alhamdulillah rabbil alamin.